Okay, welcome back. So today we're going to continue with our variables. Last time we talked about making variables, we used word one, and then we did added a word in there and printed it and things like that. For this one, we're going to use a number. So, for variable names, we want to try to be consistent with what the information is that we want in there. So for example, this goes back to something else, but let's just say we're looking for somebody to enter their first name. Right? We would like to make sure that we name our variable consistent with what we're going to have information in there. So if I was going to do a variable and say, please enter your first name, we want to make sure that we just keep the name of our variable consistent with what the information that we're going to have in there. So in this case, first name. You could use a letter, you could use A, you could use, anything like that. But we really want to kind of be consistent. So for this particular one, we're going to use a number because we're going to do some inputting of numbers. So I'm going to use num and then go ahead and add my thing in here. And then we're going to do input because we're going to ask for that information to be input. And we're going to say please a number. Okay. Now, for those of you that know some coding, if you know Python a little bit, you'd realize this is not the best way to do this. It's going to work pretty poorly. But I'm going to use this as an example. You actually should put something else in here before input, but we're going to kind of run this to kind of use it as an example. So we're going to say, please enter a number, and then we're going to print this off. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, we're going to put in num, and then we're going to use our concatenate, okay? Or actually, we're not going to do that because it's a number. Let's just do no concatenation with that. Let's just say we're going to multiply it by a certain number. We're going to say 5. So whatever number we're going to enter in here, so they're going to enter a number. We're going to take that number and we're going to multiply it by 5, and then it should print that out. So let's go ahead and run this. So we're going to say, please enter a number. Let's go ahead and put 5 on there. Now, if we did this right, this should be, let's say I put in a number 5 right here. It should be 5 that goes down here in the num, and should be multiplied by 5. So it should show up with 25. But if we hit enter, it's doing 5 5s. It's not actually multiplying that together. And the reason for that is this input. So in Python, it sees this, it defaults to what we call a string. That's text. Okay, so this input is automatically defaulted to text. Even though I typed in please enter a number, the programming language doesn't understand what this is. It just sees this as information to display on the screen. So because I didn't put anything in here, it sees this as just text. And so it's taking that num and says, oh, there's this text version of 5, and we're going to just put 5 of them there. And so it puts 5, prints them off 5 times. But if I went ahead and said this input is going to be an integer, and I put int in front of this right here, then it's going to take that number that I enter and it's going to multiply it by 5 and then print it off. Okay, so let's go ahead and run that. If I run it, I do 5, go ahead and print that, and look at that. It actually did 25. Okay. So this is how this works. And int right here actually stands for integer. Okay, so we're saying num is going to take on the value of an input that will be an integer. Okay, now if we run this and we type in some letters and hit enter, it's going to come up with an error. It's going to say that, well, wait a minute, I'm looking for a number here, and obviously letters are not going to work. And so this is a great actual use of this, because then you're allowing your program to check the user that's entering information to make sure it's the correct information. Okay, this comes up a lot in like data entry and things like that. We want to make sure that those numbers are entered correctly. So when we do this, and we tell it that it's going to be an integer, whatever number we type in here, we're going to use 9, we'll say, and we're going to hit enter. It's going to make it 45. So now it's multiplying correctly. You just have to make sure that you put integer here, or int for short. And that's telling the program that, hey, there's going to be an input, we're going to display this to the screen, and it's going to be an integer, so it's going to be a number. So whatever we do with it down here, the program will know how to handle that then. Okay? So you just have to make sure you change the data type. Hopefully this helps you, and good luck with your programming.